Hi, Sejana here for my latest preaching sermon tips video, background tips video. It's basically the time where if I preached on Sunday, before I go into my house, I stop to take a video, just sharing a few thoughts now that I'm done preaching. So, today is October the 5th, 2025, and I was able to preach in Waco at the Lord's Church in Waco. I preach for the young adult ministries, and I basically preach every other week over there. And today the sermon was titled "What's Keeping You Growing?" and it's based off of Mark 1:35 to 38. Basically, when all the people were at his door, at Simon's door where he was, and trying to get him to continue to do things for them. They heard he heals, so they brought all the sick, all the demon possessed there and everything. And so Jesus was healing them and busy, but that morning he got up though to go break away and spend that time with God. So basically my sermon is about why we need to break away and spend that time with God, because basically where's our life source? We're going to be depleted, just going through the busyness of the world and all the obligations and things we have going on. And I give several examples from my life to hopefully drive home that point, to show, hey, we should pay attention to this. And yes, I said should. Yeah, I think that our spiritual life is very important, and yet it can be so neglected. We're not taking a look at it. And so I offer a moment within the service to do a self-evaluation. Like, how are we growing? What's sustaining us? What's helping us in our faith? And so what specifically? And so that's what my sermon is about. I hope you'll check it out. It should be uploaded soon. And of course, I'll link it in my bio, sejanashines.com/preaching, and just look for October the 5th. The What's Keeping You Growing sermon, and then you'll be able to watch it and tune in, and please share it with someone if you find it helpful for you. Now for me, it's more, the sermon is like I'm actually living it out. I'm actually having to in my personal life evaluate and reevaluate my time, especially in this season of transition for me personally in my roles. And so I'm realizing, because I had an actual experience. I didn't go into detail about what happened, but basically I realized, oh, this is not going the way. This is not. I have an opportunity here to really look at how am I progressing, how am I moving forward as a leader in this particular role, because the way things are going, it's basically I'm being led by leadership telling me what to do, and they're always going to tell you what to do, right? But I need to be set within myself to know, okay, what do I want from this, and what does God want from me in this role? And so I have to spend time with God in order to know what that is, much like Jesus spending time with God, even though all the people wanted his attention. And so I think in this busy world that we're in, we have to be very intentional with breaking away to spend that time to allow processing to reflect on how things are going. Are there any changes that need to be made? What needs to be put more at the forefront, and what needs to be maybe let go of in this season? Those are all questions that I kind of bring up and talk about. I basically just gave it to you right there. But I hope that you'll check out the sermon, and I hope that you'll be encouraged by it. So what's my after background preaching tip for today? What I'll just say is, two things. Okay, I'll give two things. One is for this particular sermon. And in fact, I didn't even get to give the quote that okay. I just realized that. I did print out a handout with those questions that I offered. Hopefully, people will take that home and find it later and maybe continue to reflect with God. But two things. One thing I did is I began to do audiobook, listening to this book called The Witness of Preaching by Thomas Long. It was just in my audiobook area, and I saw it was going to expire in like late October, and I was like, let me check this out. Actually, I was doing my hair, and this process, y'all, to do my hair, and so while I was doing it, I was listening to this audiobook, and it reminded me of the why. Why do we preach? Like, what's the goal of it? Where are we coming from? I didn't listen to the whole book. I only listened to the long intro. It was a pretty lengthy introduction, but good. This is the third edition of this book, y'all. Every 10 years they've come out with an updated edition, and so it's a pretty good introduction. And then I've listened to more than half of the first chapter, but in it I realized some key things, and it helped to, it helped me, and so that's one thing, right? Continue to work on our craft. We're preachers. Let's continue to receive guidance and wisdoms from other preachers out there. And so I wanted to include this quote in my sermon today, but I actually didn't weave it in there because time was ticking. But I can say it to you now. So a quote from that particular book, Witness of Preaching by Thomas Long, in his third edition says, "Church is a community of faith where people come to offer their commitment, energy, and intelligence for the mission of Jesus Christ. The gospel beckons, come to me, all who are weary and carry heavy burdens." But it also says that the disciples of Jesus are also called to take up their cross and follow me. So how are we doing that? That's a question. How are we growing in our day-to-day life with God? We need to be intentional about that. I need to be intentional about that, because otherwise I'm going to be run over by the expectations of everybody else all around me and the things that I do and how I show up in the world. And I don't want that to be the case. I want to be led by the Lord. And so I need to spend time with God in order to do that. And because there are things for us to do in this watching, waiting world. There are things, and we are tasked to do this. So I want to do this. So, So the first thing is continue to receive input, guidance, wisdom from people who have gone before us. And this Thomas Long has definitely gone before me in preaching, professor of preaching now, and just offers some really great insight and wisdom in this book, Witness of Preaching. I haven't finished the whole thing, but it's great, starting off great. That helped to remind me of what I get to do. Not just me preaching to myself, but like another voice encouraging me in this particular role as preacher. The second and last thing I want to share, as far as like after background preaching tips for this particular day, is that I had on my mind to preach a different sermon today. I've already kind of started the unpacking of the sermon text with my group Scripture Lectio that meets every Sunday, 9 p.m. Central, 1 hour, and all are invited. The link is on my website. What was I going to say? I saw my neighbor. Okay. Yeah, I had another passage in mind because with all of the busyness going on, I thought, let me think ahead. I know I'm preaching every other week. So I had this plan in my mind of what I was going to do. But I just wasn't feeling it. Like, I had that plan a couple of weeks ago. I started on it. It was already marinating in my head, thinking. But as I got closer to today, I was like, this ain't it. This ain't the sermon. Not now. Like, it wasn't it. So I let it go. And then I was like, well, what am I supposed to preach? Because I didn't know. I really didn't. And but this text stuck to me again, and it wasn't particularly the text. It was actually what happened in my own personal life. Like I said, I had an incident that happened that showed me how I was being led by the needs of other people and of my new bosses and stuff. And I woke up thinking, this is not how. No, this is not a good way to start this role. No, no, no. Like, this is not how I want to be as a leader. And so me just thinking about that in my own personal life, it turned into, well, and then I guess this is the background part. And then I brought that to my spiritual director. And it came out like the need to set my own priorities and you know put my own big balls in there first of what's most important, because otherwise it's not going to get in it's not going to get in there. And I was trying to explain that to my daughter, as I was kind of talking about, yeah, I'm preaching, don't know what the topic is yet, but I'm kind of like, this happened, and I kind of talked it, like, I think I'm going to preach about this. And then I was like, yeah, I think that's it. So I actually came up with some pretty good life sermon analogies to help emphasize the point, all of which I didn't share today because ran out of time, and that's okay. I'll save it for another time. But the point is, like, I didn't feel like that other sermon was a sermon, and I didn't know what it was, but I trusted that God was going to lead me to where I needed to go. And I believe God did. I got some feedback after the service from different people. Not that I have to get feedback in order to know that I did what I was meant to do. It's just kind of like, this is real for me. Like, I'm living out this, what I'm preaching. I'm like having to wrestle and deal with this myself, realizing this for myself. Like, this is alive for me. And so I think that when we preach about what's alive for us, the people who have ears to hear will hear it, and they will be nourished by this offering. So as we share, so that's my belief and hope. That's my faith, like in the act of preaching to a people who want to hear from the Lord, as we share what God is doing with genuineness and with ourselves. We are here for you. I pray every time before I preach, I pray that God would use any part of my life. Like, I get to do this. Like, God, you know what the people need. You know what they need to hear. You know everything about me. You know everything about them. Just use me, God. And I believe that God does. Because I'm open to that. And may you be open to that too. Even if you've already prepared and wrote the sermon. If God's leading you, if the Holy Spirit is leading you to something else, then be obedient, because I believe that God knows a little more than we do. And so, right? So we just listen to the Lord. I don't think God will lead us astray. This is God's mission. So he's not going to lead us astray nor abandon us in it. So I pray for courage that I would continue to do and follow the promptings of the Lord in my life in every way, not just in every way, whatever that might be, because I don't really know. So, preacher, thank you for your commitment. Thank you for your connection to the Lord. And thank you for your courage. I was thinking commitment, connection. I said, still the C. Anyway, that's bad. That's bad, y'all. I'm just going to end this here. Thank you for checking this video series out, my sermons out. This is what God has for me to do, and I'm walking in it. I just love that about, what I'm doing lately. So, check out the sermon. May it bless you. Take care. Bye bye.